The 12-team playoff is here, and we're going to let College Football 26 decide what happens. We'll see if there's any wild underdog runs, if Indiana can actually go all the way, and how accurately this game can predict the playoff. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how it works, the lower seed gets to host a playoff game in the first round. After that, it is all neutral site games. And the first game that we'll actually get to watch is Alabama traveling to Norman, Oklahoma. It's been about a month since these two teams played, and Oklahoma was able to beat Alabama at Bryant-Denny Stadium, so you would think they'd have the edge here with the home field advantage too. But they are the 8 and 9 seeds for a reason. They are very close in comparability. And so far, Oklahoma's first drive is going pretty well for them. They're already on this side of midfield as they find number 5, Isaiah Sategna III, and John Mateer just looks underneath for another first. I guess they're saying Xavier Robinson didn't have enough, but this is very good news for the Sooners because we know their defense is legit. Their offense just needs to show up. It has so far in this game, especially if they get the 3rd and 2. John Mateer looking underneath, and it's enough. You can't let their star tight end just get free like that. Alabama is also struggling to make a tackle here. But I think the real question we have to have for the Crimson Tide is when they get the football, are they going to be able to run the ball? Because they couldn't against Georgia. At the moment, it seems like the Sooners are just dominating. But it's only the first drive. You can't tell too much off of that. They could have just scripted it really well. And all I'm asking for in this video as we spectate these games is that we get some really entertaining ones that come down to the wire. Now on 3rd and goal, you're going to see Alabama's corners lined up offside. He just jumped back onside. I don't know what he was thinking, but Oklahoma should have snapped it a little bit quicker. They also have had multiple touchdowns here. I guess they had a 3rd option for one. I mean, that is John Mateer's favorite receiver. He was just waiting for him to get open. And the Sooners defense already come into play as well. They have forced a sack on Ty Simpson, making this a 3rd and 13. He has plenty of time, but that check down is not going to get them close enough. They had no choice but to punt it back to Oklahoma, where they're on a 3rd and 7. Crimson Tide sent in 6, but that last blitzer was very delayed. As we get into this second quarter, Oklahoma on a 3rd and 7 won't pick it up, so they're punting. And Alabama had a couple good plays. They also had a good return. Will Ty Simpson get them the 3rd and 5, though? He will. Ryan Williams catches it. From there, Alabama has continued to find success. Another decent run on the ground. As they're looking to tie things up 7-7, that ball will get them on a 3rd and 2. If they don't end up getting any yards here, I'm not sure how aggressive they'll be on 4th down. But my philosophy is always go for it, unless you lose a couple. That's going to put Jam Miller at 5 carries for 10 yards. So maybe Alabama just can't run the football. I mean, they couldn't against Georgia. Field goal is going to bring them within 4 points. And we're at an interesting spot in this first half where they're going to get the football back. It's a no-brainer for Alabama to use one of their timeouts, as they should be able to get at least another 3 points and bring the game within 1. With 37 seconds left, though, they have none remaining. So we'll see how Ty Simpson is able to manage under these circumstances. It's almost better they dropped it. Out here in 5 wide, Oklahoma sent it in 4. Just a short 5-yard catch. And the clock is going to run down to just 8 seconds left in the half. So they need to get out of bounds, but it's thrown away. Alabama realizes the situation that they're in, though. They're not going to be dumb about this. They're going to get off a Hail Mary on 4th and 5. They might as well go for it because the rest of the half is going to expire. No one got it. Sometimes it is very difficult to see who comes down with that football, but Oklahoma is going to maintain a 7-3 lead in this first half. And I know Alabama really wants to score to open up this 3rd quarter. They're just sending up a prayer on 3rd down, and Ryan Williams has it. We literally got some Williams on Williams action right here, and he just decided that he was going to sun him. I mean, that was a great catch. If only Alabama could keep their drive alive by also picking up this 3rd and 3. Oklahoma got in pressure so fast. Here's the real question, though. Do we think the Crimson Tide are actually punting? I guess since neither team has scored that much, Oklahoma only had success on their first drive. It was worth it for them to give it back. And that is immediately going to be validated as the right move, especially since they're going to drop it. The best part for Alabama is they started their drive on Oklahoma's 47, and Jam Miller immediately busted off a 41-yard run, so they're down on the 6-yard line. Ty Simpson takes it. He pitches it backwards for 4 yards. And maybe they just don't want to score touchdowns. You have to do more than just taking a flat for a few yards. On 3rd and goal, we're going to see if they can get open versus man-to-man coverage. There's definitely options there. Alabama takes the lead over Oklahoma with their tight end getting in. But you know what? I thought John Mateer was on the pathway to immediately respond as he opened up this drive with a 30-yard completion. Now, they're stuck on a 3rd and 10, so they might be punting again. Or they could be moving the chains to the 25. And this is exactly what the Sooners needed to end this 3rd quarter. John Mateer to the 4. It might have taken a while, but the offenses are alive. They should score. And coming out in goal line, I think they're going straight up the gut. Alabama can't keep them out. Now it's going to be the Crimson Tide's turn to respond right back. And this drive is guaranteed to carry over into the 4th quarter. Jam Miller now has 10 rushes for 57 yards. but all of that really came off of that 41-yard rush. So I still don't think Alabama has been effective on the ground the way that they need to be. It's not like the Sooners have done much better, though. Basically, all their yards coming through the air. And this is what it comes down to, the final quarter. We've got ourselves a competitive playoff game. You got to be thankful for that. And the stadium pulse could not be any louder for this 3rd and 5. Ty Simpson is going to get it out, and that's going to allow them to go to the 33. Oklahoma did their best to get to him. They sent 5, but Alabama was just protecting him really well. And on 2nd and 7, they've also brought in 5 again, but it's just not going to matter. This is starting to look like the Sooners are just going to go back down until Ty Simpson is facing the pressure, and that puts Alabama on a 3rd and 16 where he just got it out in time. You know that they're just going to have to kick a field goal now. And can we trust a college kicker to hit this one here? I think we can. That looks pretty good. Oklahoma still has about 4 minutes to run off of the clock, and I think this is a great way to open up the drive. They're probably going to have a lot of RPOs drawn up, but if they get a play action out, they're going to take a sack. I don't know what they were thinking there. You've got to drop back a little bit farther. Seems like they're going to be punting it back, and Alabama is going to have 2.5 minutes to get a field goal. How far this punt goes is actually one of the most important plays of this entire game. Looks like Ryan Williams is going to catch it around the 25, get about 10 more. And I think this offense is going to be able to take care of business to move on to the next round. The winner of this game will get to face undefeated #1 Indiana, who just beat Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. So either way, that's going to be a great one. And the Oklahoma defense, once again, just getting it done. Ty Simpson goes down. And on 3rd and 17, you've got to send it, which they did. No checkdowns. You want at least 15 yards back. This is where we're really testing Oklahoma's D as well. How strong is it? It's very strong. The Alabama offensive line just could not handle it. And so now they've got to get a stop. All they have left is 1 timeout. So even if the Crimson Tide can get this football back, there's only going to be about 20 seconds left on the clock with no timeouts, needing a touchdown most likely. But I just thought of something. If Oklahoma were to settle for a field goal from here and shank it, that would be heartbreaking. Won't matter if they're just going to pick up the 3rd down anyway. And Isaiah Sategna ends the game. He has been the #1 target that I said they've got to watch out for. So far, home field advantage has mattered. Those teams are starting off our playoff sim at 1-0, and we're about to head over to Miami, who has to play at Kyle Field. The winner of that game will be playing Ohio State in the quarterfinals. This is what the bracket's looking like so far. Oklahoma moving on. And there's a real argument online if Miami stole this playoff spot from Notre Dame, but they did beat them in the head-to-head matchup. It was so entertaining just watching these final few weeks of football unfold. Congratulations to Duke as well for somehow getting into the ACC championship and then winning. Miami is the only representation the conference has in the college football playoff, and on a 3rd and 7, Marcel Reed early on is going to get the completion. What a throw from him to put the ball there. He's very meticulous with where he's able to place his balls, and not many guys can do it that way. Inside the red zone now, you have to expect a run is probably coming for the Aggies. Le'Veon Moss was able to get them 4, and now Marcel Reed shouldn't have kept it. Mario Craver, one of their best receivers, is also injured, and he was the guy that brought in that huge catch, so that's not good news for the Aggies at all. He might only be out for a couple of plays though, we don't know. And I guess they're not going to be able to score a touchdown here, settling for 3. What Texas A&M just did though was they showed they can effectively move the ball on Miami, and you've got to be able to do that. This Hurricanes offense is explosive. Watch out for Malachi Toney. Underneath, tight end is going to allow them to pick up their 1st down, but I'm not sure how much success they're going to have if they keep on getting in these 3rd down situations, especially 3rd and long, where I thought they almost got out of that. He honestly just ran the wrong way. Mario Craver is back out there on the field, by the way. Texas A&M gets the 1st down and more. And a couple of plays later, that is going to take us to the end of this 1st quarter, where it's only 3-0. So we've got another game that's a little bit lower scoring. They've got to take that motion out of the game. They got to. Of all the ones that we've got to accurately represent, that's the one that we're choosing. If there's any dudes that are going to be exploding on the field today, we want it to be from explosive plays out of guys like Marcel Reed. And they only need a couple more yards to be in field goal range again. How did Le'Veon Moss just break 2 tackles and then juke out another defender? He is going crazy so far. Miami doesn't have an answer. I mean, that should have easily been a couple yard loss, but now he's about to get 15 more. And Texas A&M is hoping that they don't get held to another field goal, especially as they continue to get yards. When you get down to the 4, you almost expect a touchdown. Look out on the left side as well. Wide open receiver. Does Marcel Reed see him? Because I see him. They're just going to run it. Somebody needs to let him know that he should have just thrown it. And you can say that's not realistic, but I literally watched Kentucky give up a touchdown to Florida one time off of that. It was really, really hard to see. He's facing a lot of pressure. And Miami is about to hold Texas A&M to another field goal, which is so much better than being down 14-0. Until their offense gets rolling, they needed to come up big in places like this. it also looked like Marcel Reed was rolling out his left shoulder. So Miami has sent more pressure. He looks extremely frustrated, and that could affect him the rest of the game. If Texas A&M loses their star quarterback, or he's even only playing at half strength, they will not be able to keep up with Miami, who had a couple massive plays after starting slow. It's taken them down to the 27-yard line, where the drag is wide open. And Carson Beck's got some confidence back. He doesn't even need to do anything if Mark Fletcher's running. From what I've seen so far in this game, both teams need to be running the football more and using their running backs. Now, I did think by this point that these two teams would have both scored more than they have. So maybe that changes in the second half. Miami might not even get a touchdown, though. 3rd and goal, wide open running back. Carson Beck does not see him. It does not matter. Texas A&M falls down by a point. Remember, the winner of this game is going to go on to play Ohio State as well, so the offense better be on top of it with how good Ohio State's defense is. And with plays like that, we hadn't seen anything from either team until Carson Beck arrived. He had a 21-yard completion to get them here. Immediately after, they fair caught the punt, and I don't want to dismiss the fact that they could get a touchdown still. Is Malachi Toney being watched well? Carson Beck gets him to 24, and the Hurricanes have just one timeout left. We'll see how they handle it. I think what you have to do is just take a shot to the end zone here, see if you can get any closer. Worst case scenario, you don't. And I guess it should be noted, don't throw an interception either. I watched Carson Beck throw 4 of them in a game this season. They're not in. They got awful close there, but I think they're just going to settle for a field goal now. And it is the right decision, but it would have been awesome to see them completely send it. Miami was smart about it, though. They knew they were getting the football to open up this second half, and that is just an inexcusable drop from CJ Daniels. That could alter this entire game, especially if Texas A&M were to score on this drive. Luckily for him, they just got stopped, and Carson Beck is taking a shot down the field that is going to be caught as well. And you're never going to believe the receiver that was able to bring it in. It was CJ Daniels redeeming himself on this drive. Miami with an opportunity to go up by 11. And we'll see what they got man-to-man coverage. Carson Beck gets it out. It's going to be dropped. But when you're thrown to your running back like this, I don't think you can really expect him to make a contested grab. For Texas A&M, this is a massive play. They're going to be sending 6. But that just leaves him open. And unless the Aggies have a goal line stand in them, they could be the first team that we see lose at home. That's what they needed. I think everybody in this stadium knew exactly where that football was going, though. Same thing here. Doesn't seem to matter. Mark Fletcher almost just carried 3 dudes into the end zone on his back. And is Miami going to run it 3 straight times? They do. Now, I don't think they're going to be aggressive, which is a real shame because a 2-possession lead would do them wonders. But I guess they really trust their defense. I mean, we've barely seen Texas A&M on offense in the second half because they keep getting stopped trying to fight to the marker. They don't. And I have some really bad news. Ray Joseph returned the punt for a 90-yard touchdown. You can see how disappointed it's left all these fans. I typically don't spectate punt returns because that never happens, but it puts Miami up by 14, and Texas A&M has got to score. For how strong they came out offensively in this game, they are at just 6 points with 5 minutes left in this game. And that's a really good route. It wasn't even man-to-man coverage, but he still found some space between the zones. And I see some press coverage over on that left side of the field. We'll see if they take a shot deep. It would have probably been open. But look at that. Miami stopping the clock too with an injury. Seems like we might get a jet touch pass here as well. No, it is play action. And that got everyone a little mixed up. Black is a hard tight end to guard one-on-one. But Marcel Reed has been incredibly disappointing in this matchup. As we're seeing basically 0 explosiveness from this offense, they finally go for a larger play. And then it gets broken up in the end zone. So the entire game comes down to this 4th and 4 for the Aggies to stay in it. This is where great players do great things. I see a lot of heat coming in, but Marcel Reed gets it out. It's not going to matter. And by the time they were able to get the football back, you see the spot that they're in. Still trailing by 14 points with no timeouts, running into sacks, which is going to help Miami close out this game, moving on to the next round against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, the reason I know this is going to be such a big game between these two teams is it's a rematch of the 2002 National Championship. I was born like 7 days before. And my dad is a Miami fan, so he told me how devastated he was just sitting there holding me watching them lose. Eventually in this video, we'll see if Miami can get their revenge, but for now, the next playoff matchup that's going to be happening is Tulane at Ole Miss. These teams actually already played once this season, and the Rebels beat them 45-10. Now, I don't know if it's just Ole Miss fans being upset that Lane Kiffin is gone or what, but they said they don't like the powder blue jerseys, which I thought looked incredible, so they're not wearing them. And both of these teams are going into this game knowing that their head coach is taking an SEC job somewhere else. I know Lane Kiffin will clearly not be coaching for the Rebels, but I think John Summerall will still be leading Tulane. They're in a very tough spot after getting that stop where they're just avoiding a safety and trucking a kid. That's the type of hard running that you want to see, but they're going to need a 3rd down, and it keeps him alive. Jake Retzlaff with the completion. He transferred in from BYU, and he gets to be in the playoff. But how many times in a row is Tulane going to pick up a 3rd down? From the 33-yard line now, it's 3rd and 10. and they have it until it's dropped, which is not good news for Tulane, who can't get Ole Miss off of the field. They haven't even gotten them on a third down on this drive. The Rebels just walked into the end zone. And headed into this game, I feel like we kind of had to expect this from them playing earlier on in the year, but you never know what will happen. 3rd and 23, I have a feeling they're just going to take the check down. It's been there for a while, and I don't know why they waited that long. What will the Rebels come back with? Looks like a 3rd down conversion and a drive that just keeps on continuing. I will say, for this to be the year where 2 Group of 5s get into the playoff, I don't want to say it's a down year for the Group of 5 because it's not. The American has been incredible, but there have been years where there have been Group of 5 teams that are much better than what JMU and Tulane currently are. So I'm just not sure I see an upset happening, but if it does, it would be awesome. The Green Wave did a great job of holding them to just a field goal here too. But if they're going to end this first half with a fighting chance, you have got to at least make it to Ole Miss's side of the field. And that's what they're going to get to. They're on the 43, still 2 timeouts left and 50 seconds before halftime. It'd be nice to get out of bounds, though at least we know they should be getting this one within a possession unless they're taking some sacks. I don't know what the range is looking like on Tulane's kicker, but I'm assuming he's not pulling out a 55-yarder. So Jake Retzlaff has got to set him up for success. They're not beating the press on the outside, which is where we were looking, but he did have an inside cut, breaks a tackle at the 20. Now with Tulane using their final timeout, I can't believe that they are coming out and calling another play. I guess they really want that shot to the end zone. You just can't get tackled in bounds. That is such a moronic thing to do. If they just settled for a field goal, it would have been a 7-point game, and this is why they're not going to win this one. They aren't even giving themselves a fighting chance. That wasn't worth it there, especially if they're going to start this second half out with a 3-and-out. I think Ole Miss just runs away with it. They are taking a deep shot, though, and he couldn't get it. That could have been a huge momentum swinger, though. Ole Miss is going to get the 3rd and 2, just crushing Tulane. They have very rarely been able to get the Rebels in these 3rd down situations, and when they give it up, it is just crushing to morale as it happens again, and it's going to go all the way for a touchdown. What a play! Deuce Alexander in the open field becomes incredibly difficult to tackle. Tulane gets the 1st down, where they have driven all the way to the 27. I just think it's too late. I think the line on this game in real life, by the way, is going to be 17.5. So somehow Vegas always knows. We'll see how the last quarter and a half go. Tulane to the end zone. No, it's broken apart. It was a good look, but I'll tell you what, they've just failed to capitalize on every single opportunity they've given themselves. You can't win a game that way. Maybe they're able to convert here still, which they are. That'll put them at the 5. And I gotta say, I'm gonna be really curious to see what happens in the American Conference next year, since basically all their top teams lost their head coaches. I think USF made a really good hire in Brian Hartline from Ohio State. There's a touchdown, by the way, for Tulane. I'm sitting here talking about other teams like this game's already over. They've not given up yet, though. And 3rd and 6 for Ole Miss, a chance to get a stop. They just can't do it. Trinidad Chambliss is playing really well. He's yet to make a mistake. 3rd and 10, though. He's just going to hit the bubble out there that could have been picked. And as the sun starts to set in Oxford, we might have a game on our hands. 3rd and 2 for the Green Wave. I assume they go for it if they don't pick this up. You've got to. It was a really good play design, though, and after a 2-yard run on 1st down, they're going to get a lot with the screenplay. Still 6 minutes remaining on the clock, but you have to turn around for that football. I mean, how many times are we going to watch Tulane just shoot themselves in the foot? No one picks him up. And Ole Miss is just looking to close this one out, especially if Retzlaff is beaten up. They've been beating him all day. 3rd and 17, he takes it again. At least he got the throw out in time, but they need 15 yards. If Tulane cannot convert here, they are setting up the Rebels in a very good spot. The shot's taken down the field 50-50. Interception's actually best case scenario, because all they did was force a very fast 3-and-out, and they're going to be able to return this punt potentially, or not. We thought the last time Tulane had the football, it was their final chance. This drive, though, truly is, and they're staying on the ground. They knew it would eventually pop. It should, though, when everybody in this stadium's preparing for a pass, and it's so inaccurate off of a 5-yard slant, Jacob Retzlaff can't even make the tackle. I mean, that's just a laughable way to end the game. What could have been an easy completion goes for a pick 6. There is no defending him either when he was facing 0 pressure. I mean, you just cannot miss a throw that bad. If you're curious, this game actually finished 27-7, so Ole Miss was able to cover. And that'll move them on to the next round against Georgia. We have one final game in the first round of the playoff. It is James Madison traveling at night to Eugene, Oregon. And of all the teams of playing they are the biggest underdog. We'll see if they have any chance at shocking the Ducks. The entire reason James Madison is in the first place, which is just an incredible feat. I think they moved up to the FBS level like 3 years ago. But the reason they're in is because the ACC collapsed. They let Duke get into the conference championship with how their tiebreaker was set up. And then 7-5 Duke in just pure chaos fashion beats Virginia to win the ACC. I can tell you right now, they were never going to be ranked or in the college football playoff as one of the 5 highest rated conference champions. I could not believe that there was even a narrative around it. It was kind of funny to see people fight for it. But I do really appreciate them for just bringing us pure chaos. You can see how the first drive's already going. So far, James Madison has only been able to get the Ducks on 1 third down. But with 3rd and goal coming up, they do it again. And these right here are the opportunities you have got to capitalize on. We saw Tulane didn't do a good job of it, and neither are the Dukes. Even though they had 2 guys on him, they just weren't able to stop Justice Lowe. And it is already 3rd and 5. Where they're going to get enough. That's what they needed. Quarterback Alonzo Barnett III is trying to put his team on his back. He's been responsible for every yard gained so far. But they don't pick up the first down, and they've got to get the Ducks off of the field on a 3rd and 6. The Dukes punter did an incredible job of pinning Dante Moore back this far down the field. They just aren't getting pressure quick. And you know what? As a Kentucky fan, I am torn on whether I should be rooting for Oregon in the playoffs because Will Stein, their offensive coordinator, is going to be our new head coach, or if I should want their season to end earlier. What I'd at least like to see out of the playoff we're watching right now is the offense have success. But Oregon just got taken off of the field and then had a really short punt. Anyway, back to my dilemma. If Will Stein loses with Oregon early on, he can focus on the Kentucky job even sooner. But I also want him to succeed because I like Oregon. Their jerseys are cool. I love Marcus Mariota as a kid. And I would not shut up this offseason if I got to say Kentucky hired the offensive coordinator of the national champions. Plus, Oregon deserves one eventually. Back to this game, though. James Madison didn't get that 3rd down. So they had their opportunity to at least get in field goal range, could not capitalize, and this punt is nowhere near as good as their first. Will Stein's offense is not moving the ball too well, though. It's 3rd and 8. He was able to get somebody open. It was about time that they schemed for that, but lots of 3rd and longs. Dante Moore is going to get plenty of time to just throw this one up, and no one gets a hand up. So the Oregon drive continues, and it's going to be 3rd and 5. Will James Madison be able to hold the Ducks to just 3? It would be really big for the Dukes to do so. They couldn't do it the first time, and they're not doing it the second time. You can tell that they just don't have the athletes to keep up. Dante Moore's getting almost infinite time back there, and they're dropping it. The only saving grace for the Dukes is a couple of plays later, Dante Moore threw an interception, basically setting them up to get onto the board. But if they don't get a touchdown, there's no hope. They still have another 2 timeouts left in the half. So maybe they're able to capitalize on this opportunity. Barnett pulls it. He's going down. And there seems to be a little bit of life finally for the Dukes running straight up the gut. They still have 29 seconds left. Plenty of time to get into that end zone. But Oregon has some big guys up front, so they've opted into throwing instead of running. And I guess he caught it. It just looked like that ball hit the ground way too soon after the catch. The real question has to be, though, will any of that even matter? They're starting out the 3rd quarter, spinning, but not getting the first down. Wait, they scooped it up. He falls short. And it stinks that he just got tripped up because I think we know what's coming. Currently, the Ducks are on the 29-yard line, and they've just run for 10 more. Noah Whittington has 13 carries for 66 yards, and they were biting down to stop the run, but then they threw it. Dante Moore might have that 1 interception, and it's the only thing keeping James Madison in the game. Because when he's not making brain-dead mistakes, they're just cruising. To those that say, well, Duke should have taken this playoff spot then, my counter to that is they'd get blown out the same way. And in college basketball, stuff like this is celebrated. It's not in college football. There will be years where that upset can actually happen. It's going to be one of the more rare ones, like a 1 versus 16 in college basketball. But just the fact that it can happen in the first place is neat. And here's the thing. Nobody thinks a team like UMBC was ever going to win a title, but they upset 1-seeded Virginia as a 16. Stuff like that is what makes college sports great. You can't just alienate all group of 5. There has to be at least one spot for them. And this game might not even be over for the Dukes. They got that stop on Oregon that we saw. Then they had a 30-yard rush. So after another large run, they're down to the 8. This matchup's never felt very close, but James Madison is still within striking distance. And I'm very curious to hear your all's thoughts on the playoffs, how many teams should be in, who should get automatic bids, etc. Because I think Big Cat said it best, arguing about college football online is one of the best hobbies that dudes still have in this country. And the RPO works out for James Madison. We got ourselves a ball game here. With a sack on Dante Moore as well, it is 3rd and 18 for the Ducks. He could step up and make a huge play here. Maybe they're able to catch this one. but they don't. And I think from here, to make sure we don't miss anything else, we got to watch every single play. I mean, I was not expecting this game to reach this point. Truthfully, I might have been yawning a couple times between plays because it just felt like it was over, but they got their life back. 3rd and 5. The seam was wide open, but Barnett didn't see it. And I think because they just lost so many yards, they're going to punt it back. I feel like the odds are not in the Duke's favor of stopping Oregon, but we'll see. They've actually gotten quite a few defensive stops in this game. And to open up their next drive, they start with a quick throw to DeCorian Moore. He's also able to make a dude miss. One of those receivers that's just really hard to tackle. And James Madison went with man coverage. A couple more first downs, maybe even just one, and it'll be over. But James Madison still has their hope. And even the fact that they've been able to play the Ducks this close is a win in their books. This is impressive. I mean, they'll honestly probably be like 20.5-point underdogs against the Ducks whenever they play. So they were really proud to be here, but that first down is going to seal it. It was a pretty solid game out of Dante Moore. My rooting interest for Will Stein in Oregon can continue. And with all the first round games out of the way, we are headed on to the quarterfinals, which are going to start with Ohio State and Miami in the Cotton Bowl on New Year's Eve. Coming off of a national championship last year, the Buckeyes are going to be looking to do it again. But after seeing them lose to Indiana, a team that I thought could be unbeatable just because of how good their defense is, showed their weakness. Offensively, they're going to have to be better, and so is Miami, who, by the way, is off to an incredible start offensively. We're hopping in already on a first down because Malachi Toney had back-to-back 20-yard catches, and Mark Fletcher is just shoving that kid out of bounds as he gets the first down. We've been waiting to see a team fly down the field and be this strong with the way their offense looks. At the moment, it feels like Miami is doing everything right, but Ohio State sends in the pressure, and they drop it. All of a sudden, they could get held to just a field goal. Looking underneath, though, they've got him, putting their team on the 2-yard line where Carson Beck loses a few. Is Ohio State's defense actually going to come up big here? Because it feels like they could. Once again, though, open underneath, Malachi Toney gets in, and he can thank himself for like 50 of the yards on this drive. Looks like Ohio State has also been able to find some success early. This is their first 3rd down on the 40. And a big decision coming up for the Buckeyes, but on a 4th and inches, you should just go for it. I mean, they're not going to trot out their kicker to attempt a 50-yarder when you can just hand it off or go for some play action. That was risky. They trusted tight end Max Clare to hang on to that football, though. Keeping the drive alive, Bo Jackson with the carry. Not the Bo Jackson you're thinking of. This is a different Bo Jackson, but he does have over 1,000 yards on the ground this year, which did not stop him from getting stuffed on that 3rd down. They're going for it, too. They didn't want to kick a field goal. It's dropped. And there is no way Carnell Tate did not bring that football in. That could have been the easiest catch of all time, potentially. It's another explosive play for Miami, and the Hurricanes have got to be thrilled with how that first quarter just went. There's a big 3rd and 3 coming up, though. They got trips on that left side. Just some routes running across the field. They're probably going to punt. Some simple ins and drags did nothing for them. What does Ohio State have drawn up, though, on 3rd and 10? I see a flag, and it's going to be a holding call. It's coming back after they just got a massive gain. That's actually unbelievable. If it's me, I'm just throwing this ball up to Jeremiah Smith on 3rd and 20 because they're not converting. And I feel like Miami has them exactly where they want them to be, as they pick up another first. The success would continue until they crossed midfield. And that is where, with 2.5 minutes left in the first half, Carson Beck faced with a 3rd and 10, should have thrown a pick. Miami has got to be feeling extremely lucky at the moment. They're also going to get the 3rd down stop. And the way they've come out firing, knowing this was their last opportunity to get points in the first half, was really impressive. Carson Beck had 3 completions in a row until that awful pass. If they could have just connected there, they would have had another really nice game. But now it seems like Miami might just be running off clock before punting it back. This is a really interesting decision. They're going to roll out straight into a sack, but Carson Beck reestablished himself, and he found Malachi Toney. Whoever picked up that block on the outside really saved the Hurricanes' drive, and eventually they're going to start using their timeouts. They still have one left, but they had to regroup. They want at least a field goal here. Halfback screen is going to get them a good bit, or it might have just been a wide receiver screen. Either way, you take 1 or 2 shots to the end zone, and then you kick your field goal. They're going to be so close. I had a feeling they were just going to let the clock run down, though, and then kick their field goal. They really needed to have another timeout. They hit from the angle. That's never a guarantee, and to start the 3rd quarter, Ohio State is on a 3rd and 7, so they could get held to a 3-and-out. I see Jeremiah Smith open, though, other receivers open, and they better hope that they can convert this 3rd and 5 next, which they do, they're going to be all the way at the 23. It's been Brandon Innes on the end of the last 2 catches we've seen, and he's benefiting from all the attention going to a couple other receivers, but that's not good. Julian Sain just couldn't get the football out, so he's going to make a fast read here, and Carnell Tate hangs on. On 3rd and inches, it looks like it's going to be a quarterback sneak, and that is exactly what it was. Now they're going to go with an RPO for a couple more. This is a very strong drive from the Buckeyes. You can't get held to a field goal now, and it seems like they might. If that ball was placed a little bit better to the sideline, it should have been a touchdown. But he had to come back to it, making it 3rd and 4. Might have been offsides by Miami. Free play for the Buckeyes. That's exactly what it was, and they caught it either way. We might be witnessing a little 10-point choke here. Ohio State is in. But you wouldn't believe the damage Miami did in the next 5 plays. It was basically 10-yard gain, 20-yard gain, 20-yard gain, 10-yard gain. They're at the 16. You only skip a few, and all of a sudden they are in scoring distance. Carson Beck looks like he's about to take a sack. So the Hurricanes are about to be held to a field goal. Some really good pressing going on from the Buckeyes. Plenty of time back there for Carson Beck, though. Throw on the run is short, and this has opened the door for the Ohio State comeback. A touchdown gets them the lead, but a 3-and-out does not help them at all. Looks like Julian Sain is going to be able to find a receiver. Does he have enough, though? It's 4th and inches. I know they're on the 35-yard line, but I almost think you go for this. Ohio State just isn't going to do that. They are punting it back to the Hurricanes, relying on their defense to get a stop. These final 6 minutes are going to be massive for both of these teams. And on 2nd and 6, after completing his last one, Carson Beck throws it again. They're not running the football, which I find to be weird because we've seen them have success with it in the past. But there was a point where Mark Fletcher Jr. went out with an injury, so maybe that's why they don't want him to be running if he's banged up, though he's back out there. Looks like he is lined up for a carry here, though. It's play action. Did Ohio State bite down? There's a flag, and it's going to be against the Buckeyes. Defensive pass interference, not helping them. That is basically putting the Hurricanes in field goal range, so they brought a blitz and just solidified they can get at least 3. 4.5 minutes on the clock. Just keeping it running. Mark Fletcher Jr. with a move. And Miami just seems to have complete control of this one. That was up until that drop. 3rd and 3. They go for another halfback screen, and Ohio State wasn't ready. He stays in bounds, too, so the clock is going to continue to run. They keep on throwing up the U. Just not looking good for Ohio State at all. On 2nd and goal, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to center it up a little bit. And they could get into the end zone here. If they don't, they'll still have a 2-possession lead. But that about does it. CJ Daniels with the catch. 2-point conversion to go up by 14 points. It's dropped. Halfback screen was not successful for the 3rd time. And the Buckeyes better have a plan to score as quick as possible. You really cannot take much time off the clock when you only have 2 timeouts. And I'm watching Jeremiah Smith on this play. He was open, but not after Miami's defender just stood there and took it. If I thought he was open, maybe that's why I throw so many interceptions. I mean, Julian Sain saw the same thing. Threw it straight to him. From there, this game would end 19-7, so Ohio State, the 2 seed, is going to be out before they even reach the semifinal. And the Hurricanes won't know who they're playing in the next round yet because the upcoming game is going to be Oregon against Texas Tech. This game will be taking place at the Orange Bowl, and I'm very excited to see what Texas Tech is capable of. I actually have a lot of faith in them and think they've looked really good all season. We are still rooting for Will Stein to have his success, though, so it's good that Oregon should have picked up that 3rd down. Since they didn't, though, the Red Raiders got the ball, and they have been moving already, as that was 1 first down, and another one is coming here after it deflects off of his helmet, and he still makes the catch. It seems like Texas Tech is going to cruise their way to the first touchdown of the Orange Bowl, and with that turn up field, that's exactly what's happening. Meanwhile, Oregon stuck on another 3rd down where they're just sending up a prayer that should have been intercepted. Texas Tech is taking full advantage of these opportunities as well. You see where they're at on the field. They have not been even close to getting stopped. They literally don't know what it's like to be on 3rd down, and this one feels like it could get out of hand early, though I'm not sure how you miss some of the open receivers there, especially when you have that much time because one of your linemen was holding. Since they just got a pretty big setback, Baron Morton hits him with the halfback screen. That only gets them a few more. So there's a big 3rd and 12 coming up. Texas Tech can't take a sack. They don't, but they sure came close to it. The field goal is going to be good, and there is no way the Ducks get held to their 3rd straight 3-and-out. You've got to pick this up. They do. Just when it seemed like some life was entering the stadium for them, though. Dante Moore takes a sack to open up the 2nd quarter. It is 3rd and 17, which is going to be extremely hard to get. Now, it's marked as 4th and inches. Oregon really needs to go for it, and Dan Lanning is well aware. That is why they're just going to hand this ball off. They got the blockers for it, and it all seemed fine, but the Red Raiders were not giving up. They've gotten them to a 3rd and 13. They were pressing here. It's a great throw. Oregon has weapons on this team that they can use, but I don't know why Dante didn't pitch the football there. On 2nd and goal, halfback screen, it was blown up. And so will Oregon get into the end zone, or are they kicking 3? The throw is not in bounds. I couldn't tell if he caught it or not. I guess they're not going to go to the monitor to review it. I couldn't really tell what happened there. But if we take another look at it, not only was his foot not going to be in bounds, but after this catch, it wasn't really a catch because it got knocked loose. Either way, it was a huge statement for the Ducks because Texas Tech is now on a 3rd and 9 where they could get stopped. And that's exactly what happens. We knew eventually momentum would swing in the other team's favor. It's just how football works. And Texas Tech's defense is really doing their best to just keep Oregon away from the end zone, but it's not going to matter when you're making plays like that. Surprisingly, Gary Bryant Jr. has been Oregon's best receiver. Not only was he responsible for that play, but he was at the end of the 40-yard catch, and it's going to be intercepted. Texas Tech going all the way to the 24. There's no way. It is Jacob Rodriguez that had it as well. He is fighting for his Heisman campaign. And if the Red Raiders can just put together a few good plays, they're going to find themselves up by a ton. 3rd and 8, though, looks like they're getting held to a field goal. And that also gives Oregon a minute to respond back. If Dante Moore can pull off a big throw or two, they will be right back in with a 1-possession game. But you also have to consider, he's thrown more interceptions than any other quarterback we've watched today. So there's always the opportunity that gives Texas Tech even more points. And as we're talking about it, that's exactly what happens. You might think I've watched football a time or two. I can just see when stuff is coming. Dante Moore throws 2 picks in 1 half. Texas Tech is just being gifted a great start. And with 38 seconds left in the half, they're going to find a way to get into that end zone. Oregon's defense better figure out some resistance fast. It's not looking good. And I see a receiver that should be wide open immediately after the snap. He sees the same thing, and they're in. It is hard to believe Texas Tech also starts this second half with the football, but they do. They're already up by 17. They're going to have to punt it. But we all know that they are sitting in a really nice spot. Dante Moore is going to get this throw out deep on a 3rd and 6 with a perfect placement on it. And I really wasn't expecting that type of connection, but it has given Ducks fans just a little hope. They should be able to get a touchdown after getting to this position. But overcoming a 17-point deficit sure is not easy. RPO outside, 6 more. And I feel like Oregon just hasn't been able to run the football as well today. Texas Tech's front 4 has done an incredible job, though they didn't get in pressure quick enough there. Plus, that catch was somehow brought in. I thought for sure that ball was getting knocked loose. On 1st and goal, Dante Moore to the outside. You got to turn upfield better. That was a wasted opportunity and an easy score. But eventually they figured it out. On 3rd and 1, Texas Tech has a wide open touchdown. Now, I don't know how this has happened. I don't know what type of busted coverage they were in. But for whatever reason, Oregon thought it was a good idea to man up a linebacker who was in the box on an outside receiver. And I just don't see how the Ducks are going to be able to pull it off after a mistake like that. Throw on the run, almost intercepted. Going to be 4th and 7 with a chance for the Red Raiders to get another stop. You know, of all the games we've watched, this has been the worst loss for any of these teams. It's a 3rd pick. And it feels like as long as you're wearing the Red Raiders colors, Dante Moore wants to throw to you more than his other receivers. Truth be told, there wasn't really much else to see out of this game. Oregon would score at the very last second. But that result only gets us 2 of the 4 teams that are going to make it to the semifinals. We still have a couple other matchups coming up. And I think that Oklahoma and Indiana in the Rose Bowl is going to be pretty entertaining too. I mean, it is just remarkable that the Hoosiers are actually here, all because of that man right there, Curt Cignetti. He turned them around in 2 seasons after they went 3-9. Indiana was horrendous. I legit could not replicate what he has done, even in a video game. Now they're Big Ten champions, the 1 seed in the playoff, looking for a title. On 3rd and 1, they're not going to pick it up. But I don't think Oklahoma is going to find very much success on their first drive either. It is 3rd and 18 from their own 18-yard line. John Mateer just sends up a prayer, 50-50 ball. It could have been caught. Those are the downfield looks you want to see if that's your team. And for Indiana, they've had a good amount of success getting to the 37-yard line. Both teams might have gotten stopped on their first drive. That was how Indiana got stopped too. But this time, Roman Hemby was actually able to bust through the hole correctly for him. And we'll see who I think is the highest overall quarterback in the game. Fernando Mendoza right there handles the pressure that Oklahoma's front 4 brings at him. This play, they sent 5, but he was easily able to dial something up, finding Elijah Sarr, one of his favorite receivers, and the drive just continues. We saw the Sooners defense hold really strong against the Crimson Tide, so we had to expect a TFL on a run was coming soon. 3rd and 6, Fernando barely got it out, which means after all that time, Indiana is only getting 3. As for Oklahoma, they're actually on the Hoosiers side of the field the next play that we're watching, but you would think they'd be in a better spot after Xavier Robinson had a 32-yard run. They've lost a couple of yards on their last 2 plays, setting them up for a 3rd and 16 that is going to put them in field goal range and actually get them the first down. Deion Burks was able to turn nothing into something there, and as Oklahoma opens up this second quarter, he's going to get a carry off to Xavier Robinson, who's at the 5 as he keeps fighting. Actually, that one was Torrey Blaylock, so there's 2 running backs to be worried about. Both of those guys have had a huge carry on this drive that looks like it's going to end in a touchdown. But the vision could have been better there. 2nd and goal. We'll see if this is just another handoff or if there's a motion. It's an option keeper for John Mateer. And as he reached across the end zone, he made sure he didn't drop that football. I really like the explosiveness that we just saw out of the Oklahoma offense. And now they're forcing an interception on Mendoza, setting them up on the 31-yard line to potentially score another touchdown. We'll see if they capitalize on it, though. That's the most important part, and they're going to do it on the first play with their tight end, Jared Kanak, getting into the end zone. Oklahoma up 14-3, which makes it look even worse for Indiana. They're going to have to respond on this drive, and it's dropped. Oklahoma holds all the keys to this game. They are in a great position that they continue to capitalize on. And I hope Indiana is able to hold them to a field goal, or else this one is going to be over by halftime. Sooners still need about 9 more yards, but it's coming so easily. It felt like Xavier Robinson barely had to work for that touchdown run. And I don't know what has happened to the Hoosiers. It's like they've just not showed up for this game at all. They better get a touchdown. That's what they really need to end this first half with one, or else that crowd is going to stay dead, losing all hope. 3rd and 10. They're about to convert another 3rd down. As they keep on marching down the field, it's actually looking all right. Fernando Mendoza is building back some of that confidence up, though I feel like Indiana's controlled every game they've played in this season. I'm not sure they've ever faced a deficit like this, so we don't really know how they'll handle it. I'd put a lot of faith in Oklahoma's defense to hang on to an 18-point lead. There's the sack, and it's David Stone making the play. We'll see if he's able to get in 2 times in a row. That one was not him, but he did take other attention, and Indiana's just gonna have to call a timeout to settle for 3. It could potentially be a really long second half for them. They got a lot of work to do, and it all starts with how Oklahoma does on big plays like this one. I thought Indiana let them catch that pass, but apparently they knocked the ball loose. So for once, the Sooners don't have success on a huge 3rd down. Hoosiers got it back, and they missed their 3rd and 3. That was a really costly mistake that they're going to wish they had back, especially as Deion Burks continues to use his acceleration. He has been a menace to this Indiana defense, and it continues. 2nd and 5, another handoff. Another time, they're not ready. And they're coming out with a quarterback sneak to make sure the chains move. Just 4 yards between this one being almost impossible for Indiana to come back in. And I really don't know what else they are going to be able to do. I mean, he's just running for his life. David Stone has 3 sacks alone in the game. And I know for a fact there's another Oklahoma defensive lineman that has 2. This one's just over. And it's going to end in a similar fashion to what happened against Notre Dame for the Hoosiers last year, where they're just trying to make the score look closer at the end. Either nobody's open, Fernando's not getting the ball out quick enough though, or the offensive line just hasn't been good, because he has honestly just seemed helpless. And there's the final touchdown. It's a real shame that this is how this game ended up going. I was rooting for Indiana. They have just such a cool story. But when a spot in the semifinals on the line, that's not going to matter. Oklahoma moves on. They'll be taking on Texas Tech, who they used to be in the same conference with, the Big 12, before they came over to the SEC. The last game before the semifinals, though, Ole Miss and Georgia. It's another rematch of a game that was already played this year that Georgia won 43-35. Ole Miss also blew a lead in that game, so they're going to hope that they can get revenge against the Bulldogs. But without their head coach, we'll see how much that changes for them. I'll tell you one thing, I would not want to be facing any team that's got Kirby Smart on the other side, especially with the roster he's built at Georgia. And so far, so good for the Bulldogs. They've easily been gliding down the field. How much does this really mean, though? Again, it's just the first drive that they've scripted well. When Indiana did this in the last game that eventually got held to a field goal, we thought they were setting up for so much success. Georgia's not in. And is Gunnar Stockton just going to take a quarterback sneak or something on 3rd down? They don't need much. I mean, it's setting up for him to just keep it, and he does, but he's short, which is where a couple inches can make a big difference. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise or lie to you. It does. They're in shotgun, throwing it on 4th down. They're in. And when Georgia receivers are actually consistently catching passes, they're a super dangerous team. That stop there for the Bulldogs is going to get Ole Miss off of the field. But they got pinned back pretty far, which means if they can't convert on this 3rd down, they're punting it straight back. Apparently, Gunnar Stockton had a 59-yard rush, though, putting Georgia on the 29-yard line here, where they're about to lose like 5 of it. And if they do that again, they might find themselves out of field goal range. Not going to happen, though, when Nate Frazier's catching that. This is the formation they did a quarterback sneak out of the last time. So sure enough, Gunnar Stockton does it again. I noticed it. Ole Miss's defensive coordinator not taking note. But you know what? I'll be nice to Pete Golding. He just got promoted to the head coach there anyway. I'm excited to see what he can do if Ole Miss was all on Lane Kiffin or if they can still have more success. 2nd and 3. Looks like Nate Frazier will take the handoff to the outside and stiff arm a kid fighting to the 4. That's that exact tap, a hard run, and I expect whenever I see a kid put on that Georgia Bulldog jersey, it's what we do. We breed them down here in Athens, and he takes it, another one in. He's in, touchdown. I have a feeling I just butchered whatever potential accent they could even have out there. Probably would fit someone out in Alabama a little bit better. Looks like Ole Miss is going to convert on this long 3rd down. So their offense, which has not existed in this game so far, is trying their hardest to come alive. 3rd and 12. Are they going to be able to do it again? Halfback angle route, wide open versus man-to-man coverage. But when is Kewan Lacey going to start taking some carries for some yardage? He's been one of the better running backs in the country, maybe even the best. And they just aren't feeding him the football. It's 2nd and 16, so now you have to go back to throwing if you want to move it. And they got about half of it back there. Not going to get much on this play. They're actually punting as well. Looked like it could have been blocked for a second. I guess they were not in field goal range. So Ole Miss, in the last 3 quarters they've played against Georgia, has been shut out. That is carrying over from the game they played in the regular season. They gave up 17 in the 4th while they scored 0. And the Bulldogs are 100% going for that 3-possession lead before halftime. Gunnar Stockton wants the touchdown, though, and I think Zach Branch has burnt them. This is going to get ugly. Don't let anybody tell you it's only the group of 5 teams that get blown out in the playoffs. Because at the moment, Ole Miss is as well, though they might finally get points. We'll see if Chambliss can get them a huge gain through the air, though, or if it's just going to be picked. On 2nd down, we'll see if he takes that type of risk again, and he isn't. So the only chance the Rebels have at getting points before the half is a deep Hail Mary that won't even be thrown. To open up this second half, the Rebels have the football, but Georgia has just owned this game, and that continues. I'm ready for some semifinal action that's not just going to be a blowout, but maybe Ole Miss still has a little bit of life. They've gotten a 1st down, and then they proceeded to average 1.5 yards over their next 2 plays. It's 3rd and 7. You got to slant over the middle, but the ball is loose. It's scooped up by them. And you know what? They turned that punt into a safety, so they got on the board with their defense. I thought their offense would do better than they have so far. But with their defense carrying the scoring load, somebody else on this team needs to take a load soon. And it looks like it might be 7 as he's at the 8. Georgia could be the one choking this time around. And they're not going to be getting to Kewan Lacey. He easily takes it in. He was untouched. He probably could have just walked that one in backwards. You know what I'm going to say, though. None of that matters if you can't get the Bulldogs off of the field, and Ole Miss can't get the Bulldogs off of the field. Noah Thomas is catching balls. Dylan Bill would catch a ball after that. And the run did get blown up, but I just don't think that's going to matter. Georgia is going to be all right. In fact, they're coming out with a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 1. We've seen it so many times. And Gunnar Stockton rushing for 65 yards might be the leading rusher in this game. However, it was marked as a 4th and inches. I thought it was clearly a 1st down, so they kicked their 3. And this is a massive deal because Ole Miss, with a few explosive plays, 6 minutes remaining, is still in it. They have worked their way down inside the red zone. And Trinidad Chambliss is just going to keep it for about nothing. They're down by 15 points. Though, so this is 4-down territory even if he takes a sack. Though I don't know, I would almost kick a field goal here. You probably can't trust your defense to get the ball back twice though against the Bulldogs, so it makes sense to go for it, and that's a good stop. The odds are just not looking great for the Rebels, especially as they keep giving up firsts. I thought Ole Miss would at least touch the ball again in the game, but they were never able to do anything. So we have our 2 semifinal matchups set, and I'm gonna have to figure out where these games are played. The first one is between Oklahoma and Texas Tech. It's gonna be the Peach Bowl, and the Red Raiders offense versus Oklahoma's defense should be a really interesting game. If I'm remembering how Texas played in their last one, they came out really hot on that side of the ball, getting their 1st downs. And just like you would probably expect, they are continuing to pick up exactly where they left off. Already on the 22-yard line just a couple minutes into this one. Baron Morton was completely set up for failure though, and they're going to need to keep breaking tackles and getting extra yards. I mean, that just made getting this 3rd down so much more manageable. And they might even mix in a jet touch pass or a handoff with everybody going to that left side of the field. It was not enough for the 1st down though, which is why they're coming out and going for it on 4th and inches. They didn't want a field goal. and I love the aggressiveness. How can you not be rooting for Texas Tech right now? This is another team I did not expect to actually be in the playoffs. Now, I know they spent a lot of money on NIL, but that does not guarantee wins. And it's good that their athletic department is putting so much into their program because the Big 12 needs it. I think Texas Tech is setting up for a pretty nice future in football too. But teams like Oklahoma and Texas didn't think so. They left the conference. They wanted to be a part of the SEC, so they got to take that personally. Take a lead against Oklahoma. What a catch. That's how the Red Raiders are going to open up this playoff matchup. A 6-minute drive. And on 3rd and short for the Sooners, it looks like they were going to get off of the field, but not anymore. They're getting a huge play out of this. If there's anything that we know about Big 12 football, most of the time, defense just did not exist back then. And so with this throwback conference matchup here, we might throw it back to that era, which would be great because neither team seems to be able to get a stop. Some of these drives are just taking these teams a while though. And Texas Tech just brought the pressure with their Heisman Trophy finalists. We'll see where Jacob Rodriguez is on the field on this play. He isn't watching for John Mateer. But a couple extra yards doesn't do much more for Oklahoma. They seem to be settling for a field goal, or less than that as they throw a pick. I don't know what it is about this kid, but he's just a glue to the football. Rodriguez gets the interception. And Texas Tech, how they do on this drive could make a big difference. As long as they keep on converting 3rd and longs, they have their opportunity to pull away while continuing to milk the clock. And they do it again. Baron Morton just keeps on making incredible throws. Halfback screen doesn't get him much. But I will say in the recent update, I think EA said that they updated a lot of the stuff with how the computer thinks. And if I'm comparing this to the imperialisms that we have filmed, I'm noticing it. The computer seems to be a lot smarter, not as brain dead, so I'm factoring that in for future videos I'll film. And you best believe before the playoffs start in real life this year, I'm doing a 136 team playoff like I always do. I also think this video is the first one I've filmed in a while that wasn't like a week or two in advance. So it gives me the opportunity to thank all of y'all that have been sending me your YouTube rap. Seeing how some of y'all are like a 0.1% viewer from the year and you've watched like every video on my channel, just mind-blowing. Very appreciative whether you've only watched a couple or you've watched them all. I'm really excited for this offseason in the future because we got college basketball games potentially coming in the future. I want to try some more sports games. But enough of the yap session. What's going on the field? Oklahoma's actually doing something? Is there actually life for the other team, or are we just going to get another playoff blowout? It seems like the Sooners got it. Though they only have 50 seconds to score a touchdown, and whether they get a field goal or that is a big difference. How they manage this clock is so important. That was dumb. I don't know why they're sitting there running the football. They almost ran it again here. It was an RPO. Plus a timeout means they're settling now. I guess Texas Tech wanted the football back, but it turns out the Sooners aren't even kicking a field goal. They just went for it, and they were on the 24-yard line. Surely they believed he could hit from there. I'm not sure what the plan is for Oklahoma. They must really want this touchdown. Jacob Rodriguez does it again. How do you throw the ball to one kid so much? There are receivers on Oklahoma that have less catches than a Texas Tech defender has. And even when it seems like the Sooners might be able to fight their way back into it, they don't. John Mateer took a sack on 2nd down, and he takes one on 3rd down as well. So their biggest concern I talked about, their offense, well, it's finally the difference maker. Although the Sooners defense gave up that 1st down and another one after it, and then one here as well, it's not like they've given up a lot of points in this game. Texas Tech only has 10. Oklahoma's problem is they cannot finish, and I just can't relate to that. I wish I was able to hold back on finishing the way Oklahoma holds back on finishing their drives. Field goal is up, and it is in 13-0. But this game is setting up to be a sicko's dream at the end because it is setting up for a Texas Tech collapse with 2 touchdowns to the Sooners. There was 1 first down, but to open up the 4th quarter, they're going to need another. Deion Burks is who I'd be looking at. They got him. Oklahoma is not out of this one. They had a quad set over on the right side. It's a fumble, and as I'm saying they're not out of it, Texas Tech recovers. The Red Raiders just keep on forcing turnovers. And it doesn't matter how far Oklahoma gets down the field if they can't put up any points on the board. Will Texas Tech convert on this 3rd and 10? They've converted on a lot of them. Looks like they're going for a huge play. And Gentry Williams broke it up, but the real story is this 76-yard touchdown. I really thought the game was just going to be over. We were just going to move on to other semifinal matchup, but no, Oklahoma gets the biggest touchdown play, 76 yards of this video. Besides, there might have been another one that was longer. I can't remember exactly. I know I've skipped over a couple. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. And Texas Tech is still in the driver's seat. It's not like they've completely sealed their win. But as long as they continue to have success on the ground, they were on their way to closing this one out Instead, it's 3rd and 11, and they dropped it. I told you all, this was setting up to be a real sick finish where they choke away their lead. I've seen it in so many imperialisms. And what can John Mateer cook up in the final 2.5 minutes? They don't have any timeouts. It's their only downside. He's already thrown for 291 yards. I feel like getting the ball down the field's not been the problem. Where he really ends up having his problems is when he isn't careful with the football. Lots of turnovers. You cannot have another one here. 2 minutes on the clock by the time they get off their next snap, so there's no more stoppages unless they find their way out of bounds. And on 2nd and 1, there's just no way. There's just no way John Mateer does it again. Texas Tech has forced like 5 turnovers in this game. They deserve to win. That has to be the worst quarterbacking performance we have seen in this video so far. But what's crazy is outside of the turnovers, he was really effective through the air. You can't just say forget about all those interceptions though, because it has cost Oklahoma a spot in the national championship. Georgia or Miami is going to be playing Texas Tech, and there is somehow a chance that there's no SEC or Big Ten representation in the national championship. That game is also going to be in Miami, so if the Hurricanes happen to win, they technically have home field advantage for it, but they have to be able to get there first. Georgia, early 3rd and 3, easy conversion. I have a feeling they won't see as much success here. 3rd and 15, Gunnar Stockton took a sack on the last play. That was still almost completed, but ultimately he took a big hit before the throw. Miami's defense could be looking good in this game. Georgia tried to bring in 5, but they just could not get in, so Miami's at the 15, setting up the Hurricanes to have a really strong start. They've definitely had a harder path than either Texas Tech or Georgia because they're going to have to play an extra game. They get the first here. CJ Daniels, a player that has made some mistakes, but he's also had some incredible moments. And they're just going to hand this one off to Mark Fletcher for nothing. He needs to be more patient before he penetrates. You can't just jam it in there. Touchdown Miami. Malachi Tony open. The freshman getting another big play. It doesn't matter who was guarding him one-on-one. He was getting open there. Gunnar Stockton, 3rd and 7, finds Oscar Delp, who turns upfield to get near midfield. After another 3 completions in a row, the Bulldogs find themselves on Miami's 23-yard line. Gunnar Stockton going for like his 6th complete pass, and it's going to be a touchdown. That is how fast Georgia has responded. Mark Fletcher Jr., though, broke off 2 runs, totaling for 38 rushing yards, which puts Miami on the 37. These teams are going crazy. We are probably setting up to get our highest scoring game yet, which is some good news. I've been waiting for this moment. Defense is great and all, but we got a lot of defensive games. Now the offense is going at it. And most importantly, it seems like nothing's going to be too lopsided. Now, I might regret that comment later on in this game. You never know how things are going to unfold, but so far, it's really even. And Mark Fletcher Jr. up the middle to the 2. Just like that, Georgia's going to be sending absolutely everybody trying to stop him. And they were very successful in doing so, but we knew the run was coming. Winning the battle up front versus Georgia is a very challenging battle to win. I don't know what Miami's doing. But finally, they're going to drop back, throw the football, see if they can get in, and they do. This just cannot be the same team that we watched lose to SMU and Louisville. There's a stop. And once again, this is how they start like every drive. Mark Fletcher Jr. gets a couple carries for a lot of yards, setting up the Hurricanes offense. Ray Joseph with the move. He's been incredible for them out of the slot throughout this entire playoff. And with about 2.5 minutes left in the first half, still plenty of time for more points. Another touchdown for the Hurricanes. They've already put up 21. Georgia better have some play cooked up on 3rd and 5 that can help them keep this drive alive, but Gunnar Stockton can't do it. And Miami's even calling a timeout. Their idea was they'd be able to score even more points before the end of the half, but it's not going to happen. Instead, they punted it back to Georgia, who's gone all the way down to the red zone, but they're not going to get any more than a field goal. I mean, these 3 points are still important, but I'm sure they were hoping for more. And there has been a little bit of a shift. Miami could use this 3rd and 10 to bounce back, which Ray just blows by every defender. I told you, he was having an incredible playoff run out of the slot. Ray Joseph puts Miami back up by 18. And I really don't know what Georgia can even do. They're on a 3rd and 20. They're running the same play Miami ran on a 3rd and long. It didn't work for either team, though. The only benefit Georgia has is there's still a lot of time. Miami is going to have to either milk the clock or keep scoring. And it seems like it's going to be the latter, as they're literally just annihilating Georgia. Mark Fletcher Jr. doing whatever he wants, so is the rest of the Miami offense. Meanwhile, the Bulldogs can barely move the football. I just don't see how they're going to pull off a 25-point comeback at the end of this game. By the time that they are actually putting together another good drive like their first one, it's going to completely fall apart, and 2, we've basically reached the 4th quarter. 2nd and 19 for Gunnar Stockton. It looks like this play is going to be targeted to go deep, and it was broken apart while Miami gets another sack. I mean, this isn't even close. They are headed to the national championship. They have more passing yards. They have way more rushing yards. And if there's one player to watch out for on 4th and 25, It's Zach Branch. The throw is off. And that really could have been caught. I really don't think there's much else to be said about this game. Teams continued to score, but it never became tight. And it actually happened. We don't have any Big Ten or SEC schools making it to the Natty. I also think Miami's offense, with the way Carson Beck is playing, and with the way that Mark Fletcher Jr. is running the football, is very scary. I'm pretty positive when I started this video, this was not the combination that you were expecting in the championship. But that is the beauty of college football. Teams don't win games based off of Vegas odds. They win the games on the field. Like I said though, this game taking place at Hard Rock Stadium, so Miami's getting to play in their own city. And there's no chance that we're missing any plays of this game. We're watching every single one. This is the national championship. We have to see which of these teams really deserves to win it all. And let me know how you think it's going to play out in real life. I could actually see like a Texas Tech, Georgia, or Ohio State. Just saying that, putting my faith in the Red Raiders might feel a little bit crazy. I mean, he just got dropped. But we'll see. I haven't really thought about it too much yet. Punt returns, are those going to be a big effect of this game? We've seen it matter for Miami before in the playoff. And look at that defensive line they're going up against. The last defense Carson Beck had to face and Mark Fletcher Jr. had to run all over. They just consistently dissected them, and it looks like they could do the same. Carson Beck's first throw of the game is just going to be a bubble to Ray Joseph, who doesn't do much, but that was still enough to get 4 yards, and they're going to move the chains with Mark Fletcher catching the ball. He's doing it on the ground. He's doing it through the air. He has been an impact player for the team, getting another catch, but it looks like Miami's offensive line's already taken an injury. That is not great news for the Hurricanes. We are only a couple of minutes into this game, and we'll see what their plan is for 3rd and 4. Carson Beck is going to have to get this ball out in a decent amount of time. Texas Tech sent 5, but they weren't very effective about how they got their pressure in, leaving Malachi Tony open. Just 12 yards away from the opening touchdown. I think it's going to happen. And here it is. Carson Beck pulls it, but he slides early. This leaves the Hurricanes needing 4 more yards. And pressure from both sides from Texas Tech just didn't get in fast enough. It was a decent idea, it just wasn't executed properly. From here, Carson Beck should just be doing like a tush push or something, but they're going to hand it off. That'll get them the touchdown too. And it was a very long but effective drive for the Hurricanes. It is time for the Red Raiders to do something similar though, at least if they want to give us a great national championship game. With a wide set, Texas Tech keeps it on the ground. I mean, this is what's working. Cameron Dickey just weaving through traffic. This time they go through the air, which allows Baron Morton to get a little bit warmed up. They're going to go with the halfback screen, outrunning offensive linemen and taking us to the end of this first quarter. It's looking like Texas Tech is about to tie things up at 7-7, but they still have about 19 yards to mess that up. I was going to sit here and question why they went away from running, but throwing the football seems to be working out just as well for them until this play. Nobody picked him up. It's the blind side. Baron Morton didn't know he was coming. And on 3rd and 11, Miami is getting in again. 3 guys at once, all on him. How is that even possible? You know, if it was one guy, it's cool, but there should never be a situation where they let 3 different players get in all at once. I mean, you're just going to get crushed. And it means the Red Raiders are going to have to settle for a 45-yard field goal that's good. 1st and 10 for the Hurricanes isn't going to be a run. It's going to be a pass to Mark Fletcher. One way or another, they'll continue to find ways to get him the football. And with so much focus on just him, it's going to open up the door for a lot of other guys to make plays for the Hurricanes. 2nd and inches, you have the opportunity to try anything, and it's a halfback screen that doesn't work out. That's okay though, because they're lining up for a quarterback sneak that'll allow them to move it and keeping things on the ground or pulling it back for play actions. Miami's still having success. Jacob Rodriguez has 3 tackles, but you know what he doesn't have in this game? Any interceptions. His turnovers specifically have been the reason the Red Raiders have been able to make it this far. And it's almost like they're just waiting around for when he does get it inevitably. Mark Fletcher with the next carry is going for a big one. He keeps breaking loose. And you have to assume that they're just going straight back to him. If you just look at this box, it's not really set up to have too much success. So I was thinking Miami might mix in an RPO there when those linebackers bite down on the run. They're going to have the hitch, by the way. He dives. He's in. And the Hurricanes take a 14-3 lead with less than 2 minutes in the first half. I think if the Red Raiders want to keep this as competitive as possible, they need to at least grab a field goal here. But I also can't remember who got the ball first. If they get to start the 3rd quarter, they should be fine either way. Wait, he's still going. He's still going. And Miami is giving up the biggest play all the way. Caleb Douglas with one of the wildest finishes after the catch to make it a touchdown. And with 53 seconds left in the half, Miami has got to be frustrated. They're calling timeouts. They want to get points themselves. But they played such a great first half up until that moment. They gave up a huge play that they shouldn't have, making it now a 4-point game, but they pick up the 3rd and inches. And it is starting to seem like a field goal is inevitable for them. Carson Beck with a clean pocket finds Mark Fletcher. And with his fight for a first down, they still have a chance at getting a field goal, but he has to throw it away here. Now, Miami doesn't have any timeouts, so what they've got to do is look over towards the sideline. But you know what? It's best that Carson Beck was at least able to hold onto that ball while going down. He didn't fumble it away for Texas Tech to pick it up and run it back. And that is going to give us a 14-10 score. What a first half. Hurricanes will be starting with the football, and you know where they're going. It just hasn't been stopped in this game before. Now there's starting to be some panic for the Hurricanes as it's 3rd and 10, but they pick it up, and they don't just pick it up. They get a lot. Back to their savior, Ray Joseph. Again, a player that I don't think gets much time. So much for EA updating these rosters. The kid's got like 2 catches for about 39 yards on his season stats, but he's doing stuff like this. So maybe Miami needs to learn from this playoff simulation and have him on the field when they actually play these games. From the 16, Mark Fletcher Jr. takes the carry for 1. You'd like to see him get at least a couple more yards out of that, but it should be fine that he doesn't, because Miami is going to find a way into the end zone anyway, with their 3rd touchdown of the game, really frustrating these Texas Tech fans. Although Texas Tech had that really big play to end the first half, they still have clearly been the inferior team on offense. You're not going to luck into plays like that multiple times. So at some point, Baron Morton's going to have to step up and help them move the rock. Those are the types of throws we've actually seen him make a lot of whenever they've needed a big 3rd down. And if you're going to pull out play action, you want to go for more than a couple of yards. The keeper makes this a shorter 3rd down, but 4 yards can still be a lot for teams to get sometimes. And with Miami having 6 guys up on the line, it's just not looking like a very attractive place to want to run the football. That was a potential way to get around it, but it still didn't pan out for Texas Tech. Though you can tell they're at least trying to find ways to make do of all the space that's being left open. Miami defenders came hard on Caleb Douglas there to make sure he didn't break off another big touchdown after the catch. And with that short little completion, it'll be interesting to see if Texas Tech can move the chains. But since it's 4th and 1, are they going to go for it or just kick their 3, get it back within a possession? This is probably the right move. Miami's offense has just been hard for them to stop. And if Miami just makes one mistake, things could shift very quickly back in Texas Tech's favor. A Carson Beck interception here would be devastating. Final play of the 3rd quarter. It's going to be a good throw. And tight ends turn up field for a lot of yards if they got a linebacker on them. We've seen both of these teams use so much play action and motion. And on the ground, Miami's definitely run it better. But besides that, not too much separation, even though it is a really big deal. Since Miami's been able to run the ball effectively, it makes it feel like they're just dominating. And that Texas Tech wouldn't be in this game if it wasn't for that fluky touchdown. What makes sports so special, though, is the better team doesn't always win. We'll see if anything goes wrong for Miami soon, or if they're going to continue handling business with a run to Mark Fletcher that loses 5. The Hurricanes can't even guarantee that they're in field goal range, at least until that play. On 3rd and 9, they're also going to convert. So it really doesn't matter if Texas Tech kicks the field goal, if they go for the touchdown. They were in a lot of trouble. Now, the reason I advocate for going for it on 4th and 1 is even if you don't pick it up, you're really out of the game. But if you do get it, you score that touchdown, then you could hold Miami to a field goal and still have a shot at winning the national championship. Instead, though, since they settled for 3, even if Miami doesn't get a touchdown, they're still going to have a 2-possession lead. Now, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it or not, but I will get to attend the national championship this year. So I'm not sure which teams I'll get to see in attendance, but that's going to be one of the neatest experiences you all have provided for me. So very thankful for that. Miami hits the field goal. And if Texas Tech is going to stay in this game, they better be getting down this field really fast without using any timeouts. I feel like that was a pretty good start for them, but a sack is not helping. You're back to needing about 90 yards if you want to score a touchdown. And who would have thought the Miami team that almost missed the playoffs is going to go all the way and win it all? That's what it seems like, at least. Clearly, that play helped Texas Tech quite a bit. They're not going to pick up the 3rd and 3, though. It's intercepted, and it's going to be taken all the way back. Miami's winning it all. They can't win the ACC. They can't win their weak Power 4 conference, but they can sure win a natty. I genuinely don't even understand how it's possible. The Hurricanes have never won an ACC championship. I know they moved over in like 2000 to join the conference, but you would think along the way, they would have won at least one conference championship. And after letting College Football 26 decide the results of the playoffs, this is what we're left with. So let me know down in the comments how many of those games you think it got right, who's going to win the national championship, and get ready for a full playoff with 136 teams, because that tournament video is coming soon if we just expanded the playoff to as many teams as possible.